Hi, friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Bare and Brutal podcast, where we curate a safe space to bare our feelings and be brutally honest. I'm your host, Michelle, and today we are returning with a solo episode with me, myself, and I. In today's episode, you can expect to hear me dive into my recent experiences spent out of my comfort zone. We'll walk through some of Forbes magazine's top 3 actionable tips for stepping out of your comfort zone and examine how you too can begin taking control of your growth potential. So, we've definitely got a jam packed episode, and I'm excited. Let's get into it, shall we? First things first, let's give a little context into how this whole suicide mission of mine to step out of my comfort zone came about. I say suicide mission because, as someone who literally plans every single minuscule moment of my freaking life, the only thing I absolutely despise is being in a situation where there are a lot of unknowns. I plan because it brings my little anxious mind comfort. It is purely a survival tactic. There's no wing in it. I don't even like wings like that, so why the fuck would you ask me to just raw dog through life like that? Anyway, now that it is clear how repulsed I am by risk, what spurred this deep plunge into the deep end of an introvert's literal worst nightmare, you might ask? Well, I decided to take some time the beginning of this year and just kind of take inventory of my life. If you are a loyal listener, then you know that I dropped a catastrophic bomb in my life last year and decided to quit my job as a teacher and, have no fucking idea what I was going to do next. I think it was around the December mark where I realized, shit, this whole discovering my next passion and life trajectory thing is not progressing as quickly as I hoped. I had no direction. And I know that's kind of the beauty of your 20s. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say it's the beauty, but it is like the rite of passage, the quintessential experience of being in your 20s, right? Where we really out here like it's our first day because it is trying to figure out who we are, and we're supposed to be lost, and that's okay, but I think we could all use a little more direction, a little more guidance because bitch, if we don't get at least a handle on what we want and how the hell, like how are we supposed to discover where we want to go if we don't know what we want? So, yeah, my ass just got stuck roaming around, ass up, shitting, crying, throwing up, wondering when I was going to magically find myself while I was just sitting at home fucking binging Criminal Minds and learning how to crochet. Like I'm so grateful, don't get me wrong, for that time, and I'm so fortunate that I got that much needed time of rest and reset. But then somewhere along the way it turned into me just getting lost in being lost, if that makes sense. If you can relate to this experience, if you also feel like you have no clue where to begin or how to find direction, here is my completely unqualified expert advice that I can give you. Girl, go put on some real pants, like ones with real pockets and a zipper and a button, and get out and experience something new. I I had interests, right? Like I knew the things I was good at and passionate about, but I didn't do anything to lean into those interests and skill sets. We have to try new things and immerse ourselves in new experiences and be uncomfortable if we want to get to the bottom of who we are and what we want out of life, right? Like we have the delulu thoughts, but we don't have the delulu actions to back them up. If I was telling myself that I could see myself with a successful podcast with a huge base of listeners, how the fuck was I supposed to get there if I wasn't emulating what a host of a successful podcast would do? Like how did I expect to get there if I wasn't willing to put myself out there and connect with people? How are we supposed to know if we're capable of what we think we are, if we don't open ourselves up to the opportunities to grow into becoming that person. So I kind of just said, okay, let's go crazy, let's go stupid with it. So since the start of 2024, I would say anytime an opportunity presents itself to me that makes me uncomfortable, that, makes me clench my booty hole a little tighter at the side of it, I just say yes. Clenched booty hole and all, because I'm trying to grow. I'm trying to step into this era of being uncomfortable. Um yeah, for example, I got invited to a networking event by another podcast host back in March, and I literally gagged at the mention of networking, but I told myself, okay, Michelle, mama ain't raised no bitch. Literally just show up. It's 2 hours of my time. What's the worst thing that can happen? But also, what is the absolute best thing that can happen? And shifting that mindset has truly helped me soldier through kind of the initial anxiety and discomfort of the unknown. So that actually brings me to one of the actionable tips for stepping out of your comfort zone that I read from a Forbes article. There's like a bunch of steps, but I felt these were probably the top three that really helped me. So the first one is take it step by step. It sounds so simple, but I think there's so much anticipation that your mind creates when you think of trying something new. Like, we place so much expectation on ourselves to go big or go home, but stepping out of your comfort zone doesn't have to be this whole all or nothing mentality. Like, I think we hear so many sensational stories of people quitting their jobs and creating a startup or cashing out their whole retirement and going backpacking around Europe. But it can also be something as simple as buying an online course in a field that interests you, but maybe you're like unsure about it, you know? Or for me, maybe going to a restaurant and not obsessing over the menu on Google before I go, just fucking raw dogging it and going to the restaurant and choosing whatever I want spontaneously on the menu. That would be a really new thing for me, believe it or not. I might be a little psycho, but that's why I'm medicated. So yeah, people's success stories, they're literally summarized into one title of an article. Like, what we don't see is people outlining all the tiny little steps that had to take place before someone made that big jump. So focus on the first step and then see if you can take another step and then another and then go from there. And as you continue putting yourself in positions where you try something new and then succeed at them on that smaller level, that only builds more confidence in your brain. Like, when we gain that consistent positive response over time, we then have the confidence to tackle the bigger things. Like, oh my gosh, I went to this new restaurant and I didn't look at the menu, girl. All of a sudden, I'm opening my own restaurant. Maybe not that exact progression, but you get my point. Okay, I hope you get my point. Um yeah, I also think too that this road of growth doesn't have to necessarily be done alone. Like, verbalize these desires and these thoughts to your inner circle around you. Like, odds are your friends or your family are going to support you. I mean, with the podcast networking event that I went to, I ended up going with one of my really good friends. And even though we were 100% like two anxious brain cells walking up in there, it alleviated so much more pressure because at least I was anxious with my homegirl by my side. Did it feel a little awkward at first? Hell yeah, it did. But at the end of it, I think I think I can speak for her and for myself. We ended up walking out of there really enjoying our time, and we left with some connections, a cute little goodie bag, and we didn't die. So, yeah. And I think it also really helped because the host who held the event was actually so welcoming. And shout out to Sonia from Your Big Sis podcast because she truly was so intentional in making people feel welcome and just connecting the women that were there with each other. Um, and I think seeing her confidence and the way she just totally commanded the room was just inspiring. Yeah, so that actually segues perfectly into the next tip from Forbes, which is surround yourself with confident people. When you are intentional in placing yourself around, those who embody the kind of person that you want to be, or maybe who the kind of people who live a similar life to the one you envision for yourself, you start to kind of take on those same traits. um I've been taking this journey of entrepreneurship very seriously, or more seriously this year. Probably I would say for the past 5 or 6 months. And on a whim, I decided to take a chance and go to this business conference at Wharton, which apparently is one of the top business schools in Philly. And I literally had no idea. So, Michael, my boyfriend, was like basically kind of cold calling people on LinkedIn, like these investor guys and people who have their own successful businesses, literally just sending them connection requests and putting in the message like, hey, my name's Michael and I'm doing this thing with my wife, Michelle. I mean, I ain't a wife yet, okay, but it just sounds more official, and like I feel like people would take that more seriously if you're like me and my wife instead of me and my girlfriend. But anyway, yeah, there ain't no ring on this finger yet, so don't get it twisted. Anyway, the point is, so he's going on LinkedIn. He's basically trying to connect with these people and just pick their brains, like telling them our story, telling them what we're trying to do and how we're just starting out. And we genuinely just, if they have the time and would like to impart some wisdom on us, that would be so appreciated. And this one guy, he ended up responding to Michael and said, yeah, I would love to, but I'm kind of busy in these next coming weeks because I'm a panelist at this conference, this business conference. And he sent Michael the name of it. Michael then goes to search it up, and it is literally a conference of people who are trying to do exactly what we want to, which is, acquire business, get into this entrepreneurship world. And yeah, he comes to me and he's like, should we go? And this is literally happening the end of the week. I think he maybe brought that up to me on a Tuesday, and the conference was literally that Friday. So yeah, we just said, okay, fuck it, we ball, and bought a freaking ticket to go to Philly, like a one round trip ticket on Friday to go. Bought the tickets for the conference, and we went. And I was so anxious leading up to it because, well, one, Michael's like, baby, Wharton is like the business school that freaking Warren Buffett went to. And I was like, damn, no, I did not know that. Well, now I do. So now I know that this conference is going to be with a shit ton of rich ass fancy business people and investors and fucking PhD students. And needless to say, well, I'm saying it anyways, I went to panic buy like some clothes because I'm like, fuck. I mean, I had to dress professionally when I was a teacher. So I have dress pants, right? Like, but honestly, as a teacher, it's like business casual. It's not like I'm wearing a power suit to work every day. So I went to go buy a little navy blue dress because I don't know. I remember in my high school speech class, they said that navy blue is like a power color. So I went and got a cute little navy Calvin Klein dress from TJ Maxx or something, and one of those professional looking trench coats that I may or may not have returned when I got home, and some pink heels because I thought it would show a little bit of my personality. Like, I thought it'd be so cute. Everything else was like so not me. Like, I just felt so stiff and stuffy. But I was like, oh, I'll have these pink heels and I'll stand out, and like it's a little sprinkle of Michelle in the whole in the whole, costume, I guess. um yeah, literally, we woke up at 3 a.m. to get on a 5 a.m. flight. Michael and I get there. We took an Uber to the college, and basically, the way the flight was set up, like, we got there late. We missed maybe the first, I don't know, I would say 30 minutes of it. And beforehand, we had a game plan. We were like, we're going to split up so we can both attend different panels, like, because they had multiple different panels in different areas. So we divided and conquered to maximize our time there. So, naturally, I was flipping the fuck out in my mind, having to walk into this big ass lecture hall by myself, only to look around. And I am literally the only woman in a sea of white men in suits and Patagonia quarter zips. Yeah, I think the entire day I could probably count how many women there were on one hand. I'm exaggerating, there's more, but that's just to say and give you the picture that it was not a woman centered event, okay? So I felt so fucking dumb and out of place in my dress and my pink fucking heels. Like, it was like I was the Asian version of Elle Woods in Legally Blonde, if that gives you a better description. Um, and very, very quickly, I realized, shit, we are way out of our depth here, because those panelists were over there talking about how they sold their $10 million companies and their multi-billion-dollar business portfolios, and the students in the crowds, they're like master students at Wharton, and they're over here spewing out these complex questions using jargon that literally sounds like a foreign language. And okay, this next part is completely irrelevant, but it I just want to know what is up with Philly men. Like, I'm sorry. Every interaction I had over there, the men either needed some deodorant or some Listerine. Like, y'all got all this money and success, and you can't get you some Axe spray or some shit. I, I just, I don't know. I was also so hyped to eat a real Philly cheesesteak from the city itself, but it was just okay. Like, we went to one that Michael's friend had recommended because I think he grew up in Philly, and even our Uber driver was like, "Oh yeah, these are really popular spots. It's like where people always go." I think he told us they filmed Fresh Prince or something. I don't know. So, yeah, I don't know. It was okay. Like, I'm sorry if I get some hate for this, but I honestly liked the ones from that one chain in the mall food court that always gives out those free samples. And they have like flavored lemonades. I don't know if y'all know what I'm talking about. What is it called? I think it's I think it's Charlie's Cheesesteaks. I don't know. But if you know, like, if you gone in the mall, they most likely have one of these. But anyways, no respect to y'all if you're from Philly. Maybe I just need to take another trip back and someone can help get some redemption for Philly, because that trip was not it. I mean, we literally were there for such a short time. The whole time we were in that conference, and then we had a little bit left to go get some Philly cheesesteaks, and then we went to the airport. So, yeah, woke up at 3 a.m. We got back in Texas, I think, probably around like 1 in the morning. So, we were exhausted, but overall, the theme for that conference for us was just a constant state of what the fuck is going on. But bringing it back to the Forbes tip though, once I got over my initial shock and feeling like an imposter and being very painfully aware that I didn't fit in, I realized that, it's okay to not be the smartest or most qualified person in the room. I was there to try something new. I was there to learn valuable insights from people who've accomplished really cool shit. And everyone has to start from somewhere. So overall, surround yourself with confident people, people with the intimidating resumes, people that make you feel way out of your depth, because you can learn so much. And by immersing ourselves in the environments we wish to be in, eventually we start to subconsciously change our behavior and model after those around us. So, yeah, it was a positive experience. And I would just say, from where I was in January of this year to now, May, what is it? It's like 4 days into May now. I think that I have grown so much. If I can just take a moment to tap myself on the back, I think that I went and made this goal to put myself out there and purposefully and intentionally put myself out of my comfort zone, right? And I'm just proud of myself. I'm proud that I stuck to it and I've been saying yes to things, and now these things feel a lot less daunting. Are they any easier? Not necessarily. I still am anxious about it. I'm still uncomfortable, but I will say that it's it has opened up so much for me, like my perspective and just making connections with people. So, yeah, whatever if you are also interested in networking and it brings you anxiety, like, practice really does make perfect. Um I'm nowhere near perfect, but just exposing yourself to those uncomfortable situations that you're avoiding over time, slowly, it gets a little better. It gets a bit more tolerable and not so anxiety inducing. So that brings me to the last tip that I will impart y'all with from the Forbes article. It is to tune into your desired reality. Now, I alluded to this a little bit earlier, but we talk about this idea of manifesting so much now. I feel like it's a huge buzzword on social media, like the law of manifestation. I be getting like those videos where that woman's like taking tarot cards and like shuffling her hands and shit. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm getting a message for you." And I look at the likes and it's like 500,000 people liked it. And I'm like, was this the message for all of us? Are we all manifesting the same thing? But yeah, I do think there is something to it, right? How your thoughts can come true, and how like what you believe, the beliefs you have, they dictate a lot of how you like make decisions and how you live your life. But I think that's only one part of the equation. So I would say take some time to self reflect and take inventory of your life, right? Like, evaluate what you're doing and ask yourself, are those things going to help you get to the reality that you want? And how long is it going to take if you changed absolutely nothing in your life right now? Maybe you are a complete rock star and your daily habits are already, geared toward being the best you. But if not, if you didn't change anything, how close would you get to obtaining that reality? And if you're not happy with that, it's time for you to decide what you're going to do to change it. And we are creatures of habit. And if we want a different outcome, we have to start generating different inputs. You know what I'm saying? Like, how can I change one action or one limiting belief? And in what way can I change it in order for me to get that much closer to the results that I want? So I would say take an almost systematic approach to it, coming from a Virgo who loves to plan everything, you know? Make sure your plan to make these changes are SMART goals. SMART as in the acronym. And here's my teacher side coming out in me again, but make sure that these changes are SMART. They're, what is it? Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So set yourself up for success. Don't say that your goal is what, I don't know, to do a triathlon by May when it's April 2nd and the only way you know how to swim is the doggy paddle. Like, envision what you want, devise a specific plan to get you there, make sure that they're smart, like it's actually attainable and realistic, and then execute with consistency. It's, I know it is so much easier said than done, but like I said, start off small. Just try. Like, release yourself from the pressure to execute things perfectly. Give yourself permission to fucking suck and to make some mistakes and then learn from them and just try again. Like, it's okay, girl. I'm saying that to myself too cuz I need that reminder. Like, it is so hard to just do things that I'm not good at. Like, I hate it. Like, I don't want to do it if I'm going to suck. But that's what this time is for. Um our 20s is like, there's no freaking rule book, and it's the time for discovery, and it's the time to take risk and see what works and what doesn't. And if it doesn't, then cool, at least you know, right? So, yeah. Please let me know if these tips were helpful at all for you, or if I just blabbed for like 30 minutes and you didn't gain shit from it. That's okay. Like, that's cool too. Um I'm gonna go cry myself to sleep, but it's fine. At least you listened up until this point. Please tell me what resonated with you the most, if anything did, and do you struggle with change, or are you the type of person to welcome it with open arms? Have your 20s been as rough as they have been for all of us here in the trenches right now? Like, you know, how did you, or how are you currently navigating feeling lost? And what are some actionable steps that you take to get yourself off of your ass and out of your comfort zone? I would love to hear. So please let me know your thoughts. Reach out to me. Yeah. I hope y'all enjoyed this quick little solo episode. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, I will talk to you soon. Bye.